Good afternoon, everybody. And my name is Divian, and we are relaunching the On the Mic with Beth podcast. My host for today is Rob Sire. Rob, how you doing?
I'm good. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, mate. Hope everyone had a good festive period. I've been excited to do this one today. Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm all good. Happy New Year to you. Interesting time in WWE. January, which January means the Royal Rumble is coming up, and we are officially on the road to WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas again. Um, we we are going to talk about the John Cena heel run as a whole. Now that he's obviously retired, very emotional moment for both of us, me included. We're going to go in depth and discuss that today, along with some other news and notes. And obviously, Rob, we've discussed this off air.
Hmm.
You've had some mixed thoughts on John Cena's heel run.
Hmm.
We'll talk about the turn itself briefly because we've already covered that on the previous podcast that we did. Um, what Before we go into in detail, we do need to mention that uh, SmackDown aired last night in Germany, which means that in the UK we were able to watch it live, and Drew McIntyre is now the WWE champion.
He is. He is.
Your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I didn't watch it live, unfortunately, but I caught the highlights earlier this morning. But I've been obviously watching like a bit of the sort of the build up and stuff and the general feud. I'm really happy that he won actually because I feel like he's deserved a good run with the title. Because I think again we spoke about this off air, but when you think back to like pandemic, like him and Roman kind of carried that kind of era. So yeah, I think with the run they've had him on for probably like a good couple of years, like you think like the feud with Punk, and then he had like a I'd say a somewhat I mean not really a stellar 2025 from booking point, but he's been like one of the top heels, and I think he's deserved a good run. And the stuff with Cody's been great, like when he burnt the picture and stuff, which I thought was so good. Um, yeah, it was. I have to admit, I'm surprised that they did do a title change not far from the Royal Rumble and stuff. But on the same token, he's so hot right now. I think it was the right call to make. And yeah, no, I maybe I'm being slightly biased as a fellow Brit, but I was really happy to see him win, and it's been a good creative start after a questionable 2025 is what I'm going to say at this moment in time.
Well, that's kind of a good segue. I'm glad you said questionable because as we've said, you've been very sort of critical of WWE's decision making
Mm,
in 2025, specifically around the heel run. But yeah, I think staying on the Drew thing just for a bit, I think
mm,
if you look back at 2020, as you mentioned, there were two main stalwarts of WWE at that time: Roman
hmm.
coming back and sort of creating the tribal chief character with Paul Heyman in tow, and eventually the Usos. Roman and Drew, man, like they carried the company for that time.
Yeah,
And
it was a big moment for Drew as well, and it obviously happened with like no fans in the arena for like what, like a year and a half.
yeah,
It makes me happy that we're going to get to see probably an even better Drew now as a heel in full arenas. It's yeah, it's exciting, and hopefully he gets a good run.
that's what I'm thinking. Because what I don't want and what I'm concerned about going forward is I don't want them to go, oh, we'll give Drew this moment now, and then we'll drop it at the Rumble,
Mm,
in 2 weeks, or if they're going to go with him,
mm,
you know. And to be honest, I said this to one of my other friends who's also a wrestling fan. I'm kind of intrigued to see Cody without the title for a bit
yeah.
because I think, and we'll talk about Jacob Fatu as well. We
Mm,
haven't forgotten about that, but I think this would probably be a good time for transition as a heel
yeah.
because you think in recent weeks in 2024, Cody was so hot in terms of the storyline with Roman that people were clamoring for that, right? The initial pitch for WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia was to have Roman and Rock. This was before
Yeah.
the final boss was created. This was before all of that. And then they switched because Cody was getting so hot. And then obviously Cody finished his story and
Mm,
everything worked out. But at the time he was so hot. Now I feel like, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like Cody's sort of getting lukewarm reactions.
Mm.
He's not as hot as he used to be. Am I right in there?
I would say so. I mean, it kind of feels like he had his big moment at WrestleMania 40, and yeah, he's been a great champion. He's great with like, I think he's been a great like face of the company.
Mhm.
But it kind of comes to a point where it's like, what more can they do with him at this point? You know? And I think there's definitely like heel potential there. Like you can see it. Like there's, you think like what was it? He always says his father was a plumber, and then he's coming out here in like $2,000 suits every week. It's like the stories, it's there. It's like it's if the company want to pull that trigger because he is essentially like the new John Cena. Like he's the guy that does all the events. He's the face of the company. But
Mhm.
they did it with John, as we're going to discuss. So I think, yeah, I think in terms of giving him like if he wants to have another run, it'd be interesting to see a different side of him because I saw some of his stuff he did at other companies when he first left WWE as a heel, and he was really good. So it's like actually this could be really intriguing, like a
Mm.
Homelander Cody.
And you talk about his run with other companies in terms of TNA, AEW, but I
Mm.
think I think he really developed himself
Yeah.
into not just a quote 101 babyface, like
Mm.
he became a more well-rounded performer in terms of his promos, his in-ring work, all that stuff. And
Mm.
actually, if we go back even further to like the 2010 dashing Cody Rhodes, I loved that character.
That's a great
I
character.
loved that character. It was great. What were your overall impressions of that?
Yeah, I mean that's a real throwback. Yeah, no, I thought because that was like just after Legacy ended, right? And then Randy Orton went out and
Mm.
was a face at that point, and then Ted DiBiase obviously did nothing. Sorry, Ted, if you're watching this. No offense, mate. I'm just being honest. Um, but no, it was really cool to see him kind of develop this unique character, which
Mhm.
he ran with, and he made it great. And I really loved it. And that's when he was like bringing out the paper bags and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I thought it was great. And then he was undashing Cody Rhodes with the mask, and oh,
yeah.
he was great. I thought it was great. I thought it was, his first like solo run, and he really kind of came into his own
Mhm.
as a character, really. And it's just a shame that because I think after that he kind of turned into a face again, and then correct me if I'm wrong, he feuded with the Shield for a bit, didn't he? And teamed with his brother. Then he became
Yeah.
Stardust, which I wasn't a fan of, and then yeah, so. But yeah, no, I thought that kind of period, that sort of 2010 to sort of 2012, dashing and then undashing Cody Rhodes, I thought it was brilliant.
And by the way, he wasn't a fan of Stardust either. I think we can corroborate that
Mm,
in terms of what the Stardust was. But my point in this is that Cody has the potential, if
mm.
put in the right circumstances, to be a great heel,
Oh, absolutely.
100%. So the prospect of him now losing the championship and becoming potentially, I mean, they could go another route with him, but becoming potentially a heel with the returning Jacob Fatu, and I didn't expect that.
Mm,
You know, I didn't think they would change the title on SmackDown. I loved it. I didn't think they would, but the way they did it as well with the returning Jacob Fatu, because if for fans that don't know, I know you do, but for fans that don't know, obviously Jacob Fatu had he had some dental work that needed to be done, so they wrote him off television for a bit,
mm.
and they came up with this storyline of him being attacked. Now he comes back, attacks Cody. Does that mean that we have Cody attacking Jacob? Is that what that means? Is that what we're going with? And potentially, Cody could be a heel, right?
Yeah, that's it.
He could be. So, very, very interesting prospects coming out of that cage match because you have Drew becoming champion and you have the potential of Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. Just before we move on from the Drew thing, who are some of the opponents you'd like Drew to face?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I can probably see there being like one more like match with Cody, maybe like a rematch, kind of to like a blow off.
Mhm.
If he keeps the title from that, yeah, it's interesting because obviously you've got Randy Orton, he's on the SmackDown roster. He'll be, I think he's still, kind of easily going to be gunning for more championships. He's not far behind Cena, is he? He's only like three behind him.
Yeah.
Um, you've got some of the new talents as well. I think Sami Zayn could be someone, and I'm probably going to talk a bit about him later, talking about Royal Rumble. But obviously, he was cutting a promo. I think it was last week about being WWE champion. He kind of did the same shtick last year, which never really went anywhere. But it's like again, there's could be quite an interesting story there. Just on the top of my head, sorry, my mind's gone a bit blank. I'd probably say at the moment they're probably the main kind of two on SmackDown that I can think of that, to be honest, I'd say stand out.
And remember now, I agree with everything you said, but remember now, SmackDown has just moved to 3 hours again.
Mm,
So they're looking for that. They need to fill the extra hour of content, right?
yeah,
So even if he's not champion in respect of Sami Zayn, he could still be put in meaningful feuds
yeah,
with
no,
guys,
definitely.
you know? Um, just before we go back, we talked about how stellar Drew's 2020 run was as champion. I also want to go back to his 2024 feud with CM Punk. That feud, amazing, absolutely amazing. Your thoughts?
Chef's kiss. Oh, I loved it. It was I just remember watching like every time those two were in the ring together, even if they weren't having a match, you just felt like there was going to be a murder. It was just absolute gold. And then their matches were great. Like that Hell in a Cell. Just it was amazing. Oh, I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the one of the underrated moments when they had the Drew versus Damien in Scotland, and then CM Punk screwed him over. I was dying watching that. That was brilliant. You know. And then, oh no, it was phenomenal. And then yeah, that Hell in a Cell match was one of the most brutal, beautiful matches I've ever seen.
So for fans that don't know, the fans that may not remember exactly what the Scotland match was. So um, Drew was facing Damien for the title, and the
Mm.
referee, the specific spot that Robbie's talking about, the referee got knocked down. Punk came out. He was, I believe, he may have been still injured at this point with his arm because he,
I think you might be right, or he was just sort of coming off the injury, but I don't think he was actively competing at that
he
point.
no, he wasn't. He wasn't cleared yet. And I personally, I think he may have been, but I think they may have been delaying it for this feud. Um,
Mm.
so the referee gets knocked down. Punk comes out in a referee t-shirt, counts the two, and just stares at Drew. And we were like, no. Like I remember watching it. I was watching it live because obviously it's in Scotland time zones, and I was like, no. It was so good. And then you go to, as you mentioned, the Hell in a Cell match. That was in modern WWE history. I would
Mm.
put that Hell in a Cell match against any of the modern Hell in a Cell matches that we've had in recent years.
Agreed.
Like I would, and it wasn't the blood. The blood was a one aspect of it. It was the blood. It was the story going into it. There were so many sort of nuances, like the things with the little beads. Like,
Oh,
oh,
it was great. It was
you
great. And I
know,
think one other great moment from that feud, actually, I think kind of gets forgotten that Money in the Bank. This is what I love, right? Drew wins the money, the briefcase, cashes in and then all you see is CM Punk just out and screws him over. Oh,
and Michael Cole in that moment, he goes, holy shit, it's CM Punk.
crowd's going mad. Oh, I loved it. Oh, that was probably one of the best modern feuds I'd say we've had
Yeah.
in the 2020s at least.
Oh, 100%, 100%. It was just so good. Like, and it, I don't think, barring Roman and Cody,
Mm.
I think they're tied. I don't think one feud is better than the other.
No, no, the stories for both were so great.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Like, and you kind of going into the Hell in a Cell match. I don't know how you felt, but going into the Hell in a Cell match, and I promise we'll get to John Cena's farewell tour. Right? I'm not for all our viewers. Like we are going to get there. I promise you, we're not going to leave that out. But we need to focus on this too. But for that Hell in a Cell, for that feud, I don't think you can fault it.
No, no, that was no, the storytelling there was absolutely phenomenal. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to Triple H and his team there. Like, I know I'm gonna probably give it critical later on, but for that feud, it was beautiful. Like, yeah, it just all slotted into place. It was, oh yeah, it was great. It was great.
And and going into the Hell in a Cell match. Usually you can kind of figure out like, okay, so and so is going to win. Going into the Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood, I couldn't figure that out.
No, and I think it's one of those where either man could have won,
Yeah,
and I think we would have been okay with happy with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It just I chef's kiss as Rob said. I don't I can't fault that. So this kind of goes nicely into what we want to talk about. So 2020, let's go back a little bit before we actually talk about the January start. So 2024 Money in the Bank, the same pay-per-view that Rob just mentioned about Priest and Drew. Away from that, John Cena randomly shows up. Not announced, not advertised, randomly shows up. And he just goes, great event, great night, blah, blah, blah. And during this time, as you know, he comes out and he puts over everything on the show. And because
Mm.
in a part-time role, that's what he does. That's his role, as he said, you know. And he said, why am I here? Tonight, I officially announced my retirement from WWE. And silence. Going back to that moment, your thoughts just on that segment?
I remember, I think I caught it because obviously because of the time zones, I caught it the next day, and I remember I was like, what? I thought, I never saw John Cena. I thought John Cena was a guy, he'll be in a wheelchair and he'll still be making appearances, So, um, yeah, I was really shocked, but at the same time, I got it. He's like 46, 47 at that point. You can't go on forever, but and obviously he's transitioned into Hollywood now with like, his role as Peacemaker and all his other roles, his many roles that he's doing. Um, but yeah, it's one of those days I think, you always thought it would come one day, but when it actually came, it's like, oh wow, we're actually here. Like this is going to be it. So I was just shocked, a bit sad, but at the same time, kind of knowing this day was coming one day, and now it's here. Now it's here.
And I suppose every wrestler, every superstar has a shelf life, right? As
That's
sad
it.
as it is, every wrestler has a shelf life, and that's why we create new stars. But I think what I want to draw attention to is he said, "I'm retiring, but we're going to do one full year, and I'm going to come back, and we're going to go everywhere." I'm paraphrasing, but I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do one full year, go running from January 25 to December because that also coincided with the launch of WWE on Netflix.
Hmm.
Um, and we're going to go from there. So already you're thinking, okay, he's going to come back for a full year, so that means I'll be able to see him every week. But caveat is this: how many times have we heard wrestlers say they're going to retire, and how many times have they come back?
No, that's it. You see it with like HBK. He was meant to be after that WrestleMania 20. He was done. He came back for one more Saudi payday. You know.
And the thing is, we've never had a retirement tour as such in the
No.
business. Never. We've had people retire. If you go back to Ric Flair, WrestleMania 24, which I know me and you both loved, WrestleMania 26, Shawn Michaels retiring, and then he comes back in 2018. But okay. Um, but we've never had someone say, "I'm going to retire and I'm going to do a full year, and then at the end of the full year in December, I'm done."
Mm.
I was skeptical as to how legitimate this retirement tour was going to be in terms of, okay, he said we get to December, are they going to put a swerve? Are we now going to say, are we going to say he's not coming back? Are we going to, is that just
Mm.
what were your thoughts on that? Did you share those thoughts or
Yeah, I mean, it was, and he announced it like. this was July, right? So about 6 months before the retirement tour would formally start, which again, as you said, has never really been done. It's normally like so a lot of retirements kind of come out of nowhere. Like you think of like Edge when he first retired, it's like, like he goes from defending the title to like, yeah, I've got to retire. You think of like Daniel Bryan when he first had to retire. Um, so I was a bit like, wow, is this like is this really, is the last time really now? Like, is he gonna come out one last time in a salmon suit and throw us all? You know? Um,
I got a lot left more in the tank.
I got a lot left in the tank. Um, yeah, I don't know, like, but at the same time, I kind of did believe it just because, he's not full time anymore. He's, you know, he is basically like a full-time actor now. Like it's obvious, he clearly doesn't have like enough time to be like full-time. Like his body, like he said himself, can only take so much. So at the same time, I was a bit like, okay, yeah, I think this might be like, I don't think this is like a storyline per se. I think he is actually calling it a day kind of thing. I don't know. There was nothing that told me like, oh yeah, this could definitely be a swerve personally.
See, the thing is, and a lot of people don't understand acting in terms of the 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 the, the demands that come with that. So just to sort of unpack that a little bit, you can't if you're acting and you're a wrestler, there's a big whole, excuse me, that's just my dog. There's a big whole insurance thing, like, oh, you don't want to get damaged because of this. Because if he wrestles and acts, he breaks a bone, that throws up his whole movie schedule. Whatever movies they're filming, they've got to delay everything. So it's not as simple as, oh, I can act and wrestle at the same time. You can't because of
No.
because the movie companies won't allow it.
That's it. That's why, like, you don't see The Rock for ages, Like, that's why
Exactly.
it's sporadic because it's like he's got all these films. It's like you said, it's insurance, it's contracts, it's like,
Because even when The Rock came back as the final boss, didn't really do that much.
mm,
The character and the promos and the the way he presented himself as that character, that was the selling point.
mm.
It wasn't, oh, he's going to come back and wrestle four, five, six matches. I think he only wrestled one.
I think it was the WrestleMania match. That was it.
Yeah, WrestleMania 40, and that was it. Um, so you can't wrestle and act at the same time and fulfill both schedules because they don't work.
No, that's
So
it. That's it.
so that's that's why you know he had to make a clean break from the business and then go into acting. Now we move forward into January 2025. He comes out on Netflix and says, "I'm gonna win. I'm gonna enter the Royal Rumble because I'm gonna go out and go out my way."
Mm.
So he enters the Royal Rumble. Obviously, we know Jey Uso wins that. Did you think in your mind they were going to give that to Cena?
So I think I can't remember if it was. I don't know. Again, I think it might have been a podcast that unfortunately was unable to be released. And you spoke about it. We might have spoken about it off camera, but for 2025, I actually thought it was one of those rumbles where I actually couldn't call who was going to win it. So I did think like, are they going to give it to Cena because like you said, he cut the promo and he was like a 17th world title. It's not going to happen. And I thought, I thought interesting that he said that. That made me think, are they swerving that so he will win and then he can go on and. But then it was like, at that time you had like Roman who was being talked about to win, or Punk was kind of in a place. Seth Rollins. You had like Sami Zayn, who was doing all this, I want to be the world champion, this stuff and all that. And then I kind of thought, okay, they're kind of pushing Jey Uso quite a bit. So I think maybe he could be in there, but I thought, I don't know. And then when I was watching the Rumble itself, and it came to Cena, I think it was Cena, Uso, and I think it was Logan Paul were the final three, right?
Hmm.
I thought, okay, surely not Logan Paul. He gets tossed out. And I thought, okay, I think they're going to give it to John. I think they're going to give him, win his last Rumble. And yeah, I was shocked when Jay won. I was literally like John on the outside. I was like, what? So yeah, when it came to them two, sorry, I thought, yeah, I thought John was going to win. So that shocked me. That shocked me.
Because I remember, we both have seen Unreal, but for all of our viewers that didn't see it, I recommend going watching it. And there's season two's coming out 20th of January. So, um, a lot of the debate around the Rumble was Punk.
Mm,
A lot of the debate, and I think it was Michael Hayes that said, "What about Jay?"
I think you're right. Yeah.
And they all went, "Huh, Jay." So I I kind of like the way I kind of like that they didn't have Cena win the Rumble because obviously we didn't know what was going to happen next month, right? So
Mhm.
or in March. So I kind of like the fact they didn't have Cena win the Rumble because I think it would have been a bit too predictable.
Yeah, no, I agree actually. Considering what was to happen next, it actually made sense.
Hmm.
And there was a really interesting moment in the Rumble, which I'm sure you probably caught, but when John ran back into the ring, he ran in quite aggressive, like he was going to hit him. And I was like, whoa. And then he was like, putting him over, like, yeah, well done, man. I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen John react like that to losing. Normally he's quite gr unless it's like a rival, obviously like a '09 Randy Orton. But like if we're talking like face and face, I've never seen him like I was like, oh, that was quite interesting. I've never seen him react like that. Like that kind of threw me like, oh, okay. And then I'm sure you're gonna bring it up, but the press conference was afterwards they did, and it was like, oh, okay, hold on, that's not. This is feels a bit odd.
So hold that thought because
Yep,
that's the next thing we are going to bring up because we're going to discuss that.
yep,
So the Royal Rumble happens. Jey Uso wins, and as Rob said, because I had the same thoughts, that Cena comes back in and goes as if he, at least to me, it goes as if he's about to beat up Jey and he holds his hand and whatnot. And press conference comes down and John basically calls his shot. Just there, saying, I've earned the right to, if I'm paraphrasing again, but I've earned the right to basically call my shot and go into Elimination Chamber, and I'm gonna enter and win a 17th championship. Go from there.
yeah. And there was a phrase that he used as well, which I don't know. Maybe it could be subtle foreshadowing where he goes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's like. He said something like, again, I'm probably paraphrasing, but he was like, "Oh yeah, I thought it's going to be all fun and games, with all of that, have some good matches, but I realized, that's not the what's best for business." Now we all know where that phrase has been used before. I still remember SummerSlam 2013. I still remember that, and but I didn't kind of put two and two together. I thought, oh, okay, that's very un-John like to just say, yep, I mentioned myself, I've earned this. I thought, okay, that's interesting because, he's all about, earning his shot, hustle, loyalty, respect. But it's one of those, it's like, listen, he's been a legend for like 25 years. He's right. I don't think he has to go through the whole qualifying shtick. He's the GOAT, but it was just like, it was very interesting. It was almost like I don't know. He didn't have the same sort of John that we all know and love. It was quite odd coming back from like, oh, okay.
Because and I think you're right in that he doesn't have to earn it.
Mm,
The road they're walking on right now, all these main stars, he paved.
that's it. Exactly.
He doesn't have to earn it. The money these guys are making right now is because, and the fact that we're on Netflix, all of this is because of the roads and the miles that John traveled back then, and guys before him.
That's it. You think of, the Stone Colds, the Johns, I mean, I know he's still going, but Randy Orton, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, all these guys, Undertaker, Edge. I mean, I don't know if you watch like Maven Huffman, the YouTuber,
Yeah,
and he talks about like how things were in his day, and it's like, oh yeah, we got paid per match and all that, and then you see these guys now on like solid salaries on Netflix, all that. It was all because of people like John who
mm,
put their blood, sweat, and tears, 300 odd days on the road, God knows how many matches a year. So he earned it. You kind of went away going, okay, fair enough.
mm.
But it's at the same time, it was like, oh, okay, that was interesting that he kind of came across that way. I was like, oh, okay.
So now we go to Elimination Chamber, and like we said, we're not going to have go into a full discussion because we've already done that. And for those of you that want to listen to that, you can go into the On the Mic with Metha YouTube channel, and listen to that podcast entitled John Cena Turns Heel. We have a full in-depth discussion on the actual turn itself because at that point it just happened. So
Hmm.
he turns heel in what I will say about that is probably one of the greatest heel turns in history. The actual turn itself,
Yeah,
we'll get into the run, but the actual turn itself, I can't fault it.
legendary. It
I,
was. I mean, like I mean, I don't know how people feel about Stone Cold Steve Austin's turn in '01. I feel like it's quite a mixed bag. I personally liked it, but that's maybe the nostalgia in me. I liked it. Hulk Hogan, one of the greatest heel turns, most shocking moments when he created the NWO. But this, and I think you used the analogy at the time, this was like Batman aligning with the Joker. This was like Superman turning on Lois Lane to join Lex Luthor. This broke our minds. The actual turn itself was legendary. Like I could the only critique I have is they didn't need Travis Scott there. That's the one critique. Outside of that, it was phenomenal. Like the crowd's reaction, their faces in the crowd, Michael Cole just on it was beautiful.
so it's hard pressed. I mean, we're you mentioned Stone Cold there a little bit, right?
Mm,
Let's go back and I have a point to this. So let's go back to WrestleMania 17, right? For just a
yeah.
second, and we go to um Austin in the ring with Vince. The notion of them shaking hands, the notion of them working together. He passes in the chair and he boots the living crap out of the Rock, with the chair hits to the stomach, to the back, to the face at the end. Like, oh, you know, the visual that Stone Cold could sell out to Vince McMahon, the one man who, along with Austin, basically rescued the WWF
Mm,
from the perils of WCW and the Monday Night Wars. I don't think we can argue that, right?
no,
So the notion and the whole Attitude Era in terms of that storyline was built on the fact that these two hated each other.
that's it.
Austin was trying to screw Vince. Vince was trying to screw Austin, and there was a game of one-upsmanship that basically saved this company from, in my opinion, going out of business. And had that storyline not happened or not succeeded, we may not be talking about this today.
No,
We
it'd be the WCW network.
Yeah, we or the professional wrestling industry would be very different.
Mm,
So my point in that is that them two joining together was unthinkable.
mm,
But I draw that same parallel. This is why I brought it up. I draw that same parallel to John Cena turning heel and the
yeah,
way it happened. And the fact that it didn't happen because he said something, it was the face. It
yes.
was the
It was the flick of the switch. That I think that's what I loved about. Again, I don't want to get too into the heel turn per se, like you said, but for the context for what we're going to talk about, it's the Cody tells him to go F himself. It's like, oh, The Rock, sorry, to go F himself. Everyone's happy. Everyone's like, yeah, man, this is going to be great. Cody versus John, two baby faces, and then the and then it's the crowd for me that make it when The Rock's doing all this. It's like oh my God, this is happening. Like this is the world crashing down in front. We know in front of us. And yeah, the brutality, like this was just something we never thought we would see. This is the sort of thing you would do on WWE 2K Universe mode because in real life it would never happen. And it was when it was happening as well. Like this is John on his way out retiring at the end of the year. Like no one could have called it, which is what made it so perfect.
and the beautiful aspect of that as well is that no one knew about it. That is the
Oh.
whole point. And this is a parallel. We obviously write scripts, right?
Mm.
That's what we do. That's what we love, me and you. That's why we've been friends for so long. When you write scripts, the best endings are the best storylines or plot points or whatever you want to say are the ones that people don't expect it.
That's it.
People don't expect it. And you go to storylines like you go to programs like Line of Duty, etc., wherever, Breaking Bad, all of this stuff happens because people don't People don't can't predict the ending. People can't figure out what's going to happen next.
That's it. We love a twist. We love a twist.
Right. That's just human nature. People love to be surprised. And the element of surprise was just amazing in that moment.
It was, yeah, yeah. That was. I still remember watching that for the next day because again, we're in the UK, time zones. I remember watching that the next day. Like, I watched like I think you voice noted me in the morning that Rob, you need to watch the last 10, 20 minutes. I was like, what happened? So I went on Netflix. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch these last 20 minutes. I'm just so curious, like for him to voice note me like this. Obviously, I watched the end of the match. Cena wins. I thought, okay, that was a bit heelish, but I thought, no, nothing of it. And then that happened, and I was like, I need to watch Raw the next like to that Monday. Did it? It was yeah, yeah.
But just for context, Rob has kind of been in and out of the business of watching the business for the last couple of years, and it's
Mm,
because of me that he's kind of got back into it. And then obviously the stuff with Vince happened, and
mm,
Triple H took over, and then you kind of your fandom, I suppose, got reignited from there, and so on.
mm.
So I normally on a pay-per-view day, the next day, I'll normally message him and go, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see that?" And he'll go, "Yeah, I'll catch up on some highlights, right?" And we usually what that means is he'll just watch the main points. And I'm like, "No." So I voice noted him. I'm like, "No, you need to go and watch this. Go and watch the turn. Go and I didn't say turn. I take that back. I didn't say turn. I said go and watch the last 20 minutes of that show. I don't care what you do. Go and watch the last 20 minutes of that show." And he did. And he said, you know, I think your response was, "What the fuck?"
I was literally at Michael Cole. I was like, John, what the hell? Yeah, yeah. It was, yeah,
It
incredible.
was it was insane because I nobody could predict that and the way it happened and all. So
Mm.
let's move on from that now. We go to the next Raw that he was involved in, which was March 17th, March 10th. Well,
Very well remembered. It was 17th. Yeah, well remembered.
yeah, so there we go, 17th. Yeah, we go to we go abroad. We go to Europe, and he comes out, and everyone that is expecting this heel turn, new music, new everything, da 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 da, nothing. Everything's the same. And Rob, take it from there.
Okay, so I feel like I should have had a shovel for this bit because Triple H, this is where I'm going to start burying. So, I want to mention something for context. So, and John mentioned this on one of his interviews, but for his retirement tour, he said, sorry, and I will get on to your point, sorry. He said he was willing to do that 200 days, based that full schedule, right? And WWE were like, no, we only need you for, what was it, like 36 dates for the retirement
Correct.
tour.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, it's slightly criminal that you have the biggest heel turn in the history of the company, and then he's not on the next Raw. The Rock is not on the next Raw, and I remember watching it. It was a little bit frustrating because it's like you got like CM Punk and all that talking about it, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Like, why did you do this? Like, I need to know. And it was kind of like an elephant in the room for a couple weeks. And then it kind of made me think, like, once obviously more towards the end, like once I knew more about, okay, he had these dates on the table, but they were like, nah, you're good, bro. It's like, oh man, like why, like, oh, like the heat he would have got there, and it's like, yeah. But anyway, that's something we can talk about a bit later. But in terms of that first promo in Brussels, like a lot of people didn't like the fact that he had like didn't have the same music, like he kept the same music and stuff. I kind of disagree with the music because I think actually the fact he didn't change anything, like that, like he knew we wanted it. Probably creative knew we wanted it, which made it even better because it's like you're not getting it, and it's like you know what, our time is up, his time is now, so screw us. And it was like okay, I like that. Only critique I do have in that respect is I do feel like it was a little bit weird him wearing all the merch and all that, which is obviously probably like an attempt to, boost sales in those respective cities and all of that. I maybe would have liked some more like heelish attire maybe in that respect. Like I don't know. I feel like something to maybe like a subtle change. Like I'm not saying
Mhm.
it's to come out in like singlets and stuff, but like heelish t-shirts and stuff like that. But in terms of the first promo, now again, I'm going to kind of quote John. He said that he didn't like his first heel promo. He said it sucked. Correct me if I'm wrong. He did say that, right?
He said he felt that that first promo was a failure.
Okay.
And
Sorry, go on.
no, go on.
Um, yeah, no, I was gonna say I disagree. I think that first promo in Brussels was amazing. Like, I thought it was great because everything he said was true. Like, you can go back and watch any pay-per-view that he was on in the last, like, especially in his prime, and all you'll hear is like, "Boo, Cena sucks. We hate you." You know, it's like for 20 years, basically, or at least the last 10. It's like. Yeah, he was giving his all and he was just getting like absolutely destroyed by the fans. And he kept like smiling and, hustle, loyalty, respect, Make-A-Wish Foundations doing all this stuff just to get told he sucks. So, in terms of that first promo, I thought it was beautiful. It was so interesting to see him go from, yeah, guys, this is awesome to, you know, you son of bitches that never cared how I feel. And the sorry, I will shut up in a minute.
No, go ahead.
And if you listen to the crowd, like the boos and the decibels of that booing was like, wow, this is like Dominic Mysterio level heat. It was like, oh, it was brilliant in terms of the promo.
And the thing is, right, we talked about this a little bit on the previous podcast, but I'll go into it again because it's important. But the fact he didn't change, that's the point. That's the point. You don't deserve me to change because I'm tired of changing myself for you.
That's true.
And the psychology is, at least what I got from it, was trying to get the wrestling fans, us, to be the bad guys in terms of, no, you're wrong because you treated me badly. The whole time I gave myself to you and you treated me badly and you told me I suck and you told me to go and never come back and all this kind of stuff. Like I'll go back to a 2013 promo that he did just after SummerSlam that you mentioned in 2013. So
Mm,
he comes out with this big ball of fluid on his elbow, right? And we all knew back then he was going to have surgery.
mm.
And and he goes, I can't put my surgery off any longer. Tonight I leave the WWE. And the cheer that comes off the back of that, uh, it's like it's like that City just won the World Series or something. You know, that's the kind of toxic nature that he's talking about in that character in that promo. So
Mm.
really, he's not wrong.
No.
And then obviously Cody comes out and he says, I wanted to fight John Cena, not this whiny bitch. But that makes Cody even more of a babyface.
Yeah.
So I don't see how that would have been a failure, that promo. I get John's point, but
Yeah. It's yeah, like, I remember at the time I was like, I'm surprised they didn't kind of fight, but in that instance they kind of didn't need to because it was kind of like, well, okay, so he's basically saying, it's the fans, which again, completely justified, and it's like Cody is almost like a representation of what he hates, which is the fans. So it's like, okay, I like where they're going with this. Okay. Um, and then that was kind of it for the first week, wasn't it? We had to wait till the next Monday Night Raw, which I believe was in Scotland. And yeah, I mean, it was a good start. I was kind of intrigued like to see like okay, so I'm kind of intrigued how kind of elimination from The Rock leads to all of this, but I thought let time tell its own story. But yeah, it was a good start. I'll say it was a good start. I'll say that.
so you mentioned The Rock,
Mm,
and Travis Scott. Now, I I know people were looking forward to seeing The Rock, right?
mm,
I get it, but for whatever reason, and we still don't know, that didn't work out. I don't know why.
mm,
So then you transition into making the story about Cena and Cody, just solely about Cena and Cody. Do you think that the lack of involvement from The Rock, barring the initial turn, hurt the story?
I think so. I think so because The Rock was so pivotal to the moment, right? Because he's like this evil character, the final boss, with history with Cody. He was critical to that shocking moment. And then he was almost like the elephant in the room after that, because obviously, as we know, he would never appear again. And, I think as the weeks went on, like, especially into like WrestleMania, it's like, is The Rock going to appear, kind of help Cena? Or kind of give us some sort of explanation. And it was never really that I remember anyway, really explain like why John kind of sold out to The Rock. And this is where my when my big first critique comes in is that I feel like the character of Cena or the heel persona of Cena we saw at Elimination Chamber was not a bit different to the one we would eventually go on to see because at Elimination Chamber, he was this like sadistic, psychopathic, no empathy guy who just like, brutally assaulted a man, like choking him out and stuff, which was shocking to see. And I don't feel like during the run, we never really saw that side of him because it was like the elephant in the room was okay, but The Rock, Cody, but then when it was Cena on his own, we didn't really see it was more like, F the fans, I'm gonna ruin wrestling, which was a really intriguing concept. It created this kind of concept of, okay, he's to ruin it for us. And I wanted him to ruin it for me. I was so intrigued by this. But to answer your question, I do feel like it did hurt it because like The Rock not being there. Travis Scott not so much. I don't care for him, but The Rock specifically, especially what we'd see in the final boss and his involvement in that initial turn. He kind of felt like this big elephant in the room that we're waiting to address, and it was like, yeah, it just never got addressed. It was kind of like, okay, we just kind of got to pretend that he wasn't there and just focus on this kind of thing.
Because I don't think they even mentioned him, The Rock, until I don't think they even mentioned The Rock until SummerSlam, maybe before that, just in terms of, when Cena turned back a babyface to be like, actually, I sold myself to The Rock and I made a wrong decision, you know?
Yeah, I think. Sorry to cut you off. I think there was one. I think it was the promo right before WrestleMania on SmackDown. I can't remember the exact wording, but I think John said, "Do you know why I did what I did? It's because of what you said to The Rock." But he didn't say, "Oh, he didn't sort of say specifically, oh, I sold myself out to The Rock because, or did it? It was more like that was the only sort of meant time his name was even brought up. Outside of that, it's kind of like you said. It's like it was like, yeah, actually, I was made promises by people, they didn't show up, so yeah, I messed up. Sorry, guys.
He inferred The Rock. It wasn't specifically, I
Yeah.
don't think it was specifically mentioned. I could be wrong.
No,
Um,
I think it was kind of implied that he was mentioning The Rock, but he never said Dwayne or The Rock or anything like that. It was implied. But I think we all kind of knew who he was talking about. It was one of them.
so let's get to WrestleMania now.
Yeah.
We get to the main event.
Yeah.
This is night two. Um, and we have Cena and Cody. Cena debuts a more methodical style,
Mm.
which, I mean, you might have a different perspective, but I didn't really mind that because if he's a heel, he's not going to wrestle the same way that he used to wrestle. It's going to
No.
be slower. It's going to be a more methodical pace, a more deliberate pace. What else would you expect? So,
Mm.
first of all, before I move on, what did you think of that? The style that he.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a big issue with the style. Like you said, he's not pandering, as his new persona, he's not pandering to the fans anymore, right? So I had no issue with it. I also want to say I loved his WrestleMania entrance. I thought I know it sounds ridiculous, pardon me. I think it was one of my favorite WrestleMania entrances. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make a big thing, but it was just like like it was like a dystopia. Like the arena all blacked out, and then there's a great shot of John walking down the ramp and the fans reaching out like he's Superman or something, and he's just down the ramp and then holding the little towel. I thought it was one of the best WrestleMania entrances I've ever seen. I absolutely loved the entrance. I just want to say.
Because you know what, going back to the entrance, because you're right, I didn't think of that, but the whole John Cena entrance, all his career, when he first got hot, was the whole colors, the whole,
Mm.
the different colors, the different arenas, everything would be colorful, the stage would be colorful, etc. All you see is just black and white with the letters John Cena, and I'm just like, that's genius.
And there was a little, I don't know if it's intentional, but like it reminded me a bit of, like in the olden films where it have like black and white screen, it's like Finn, when at the end, I know there's like a little thing of like, this is like, his last year, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much in the subtext, but that's another thing that I got was like, I thought was quite clever with that.
And I think also the element of, do you remember on the screen where they had these things when he used to do Raw and promos and stuff, where it's like they had this countdown, 37, 36 states to start with, then we
Mm,
go down to 27, then 20, then so forth.
yeah.
It's almost like you guys should be grateful to see me because
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here after this.
Yes.
It, just those little nuances. Like I know you don't like the sort of the heel run and how it went on, fine. But these little nuances, I think, added to it, and it made it so much more important to see him.
Mm. Because he was getting like, I think after the initial kind of heel turn, he was actually getting like cheered like most times he appeared.
Yeah.
Which I do like. I admit he did kind of play to like he was like I think it was the Raw after WrestleMania. They were like, "We are sorry," and he's like, do you hear that? Do you hear that? They're saying we are sorry, And I thought, okay, I like that. And it's like you said, those I will give praise to those little details of like I've only got this many dates left, and then I'm out of here with the title. It's like okay, I like that. I like that.
And I think that going on to your point earlier about him ruining wrestling, I think that's what they meant when they said ruin wrestling.
Mm,
It's like I'm going to take this and leave. When I'm done, I want to take this and leave.
mm,
And their lasting legacy is going to be me leaving with the title, almost parallel, almost being a parallel to what CM Punk actually did
mm.
in 2011.
Yeah, I could see that. And it created this such like intriguing concept because we were talking about the retirement tour never been done in this way. But
Hmm.
we'd never, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I've never seen like a beloved character, like and turn on the fans completely, like, and essentially turn it into a revenge tour, which is what it became at that point, right?
Yeah,
He's like, you will forever forget Ric Flair and you remember John Cena. And then he started, and I'm wondering, I liked as well when he started talking about like, I bought the spinner belt in and you all hated it. And then like, I was like, is that true? Like, and I Googled it, negative comments, and it was just, I was like, oh wow, like, okay, I like that. Keep ruin it for me, John. I want this. This is so intriguing. Like, yeah.
and
Sorry.
it's funny because I got the concept of the spinner belt, but I never liked it.
No.
It just I just didn't because I don't know how you felt, but I just thought that it was a parody of the actual championship. And I'm old school. What did you think about the spinner belt?
I will admit that I had a toy version of it as a kid. But as an adult, it only looked good on John. I think when like Triple H held it and Randy Orton held more so Triple H and like them sort of guys held it, I thought it looked a bit ridiculous, to be honest. But when John had it, it worked for him. Though I did like the rated R spinner belt. I know Edge, I think in an interview he didn't like it, but his version I liked. But overall, I think it's one of them belts. It looks good on John Cena and no one else, in my opinion.
Yeah, do you remember in '99 when Stone Cold had the broken skull belt?
Yeah.
That belt was fit for him.
Mm.
It wasn't fit for anybody else. And the same thing with the spinner belt. It's like that belt was fit for John. It was made for John. It was fit for him. I get the merchandise point of it. Like they want to keep it because they want to boost merchandise sales. I get that. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, it's a business. But the belt is only for John, really. So kind of it didn't need to be on anybody else. That was my critique of the belt.
Yeah. That I completely agree. I completely agree, but I like they backed that into the story.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, I mean, I have some more thoughts on the spinner belt, but I feel like I might come into a point later on. So I'm gonna save it for now, and I'll let you. Sorry, talk. I know it's about WrestleMania, so I'll pass back.
the reason why it fit into the storyline in terms of what he was doing was because it's true.
Mm,
It's true. There was so much negativity around it. There was so much negativity around him as a whole when he was in his prime. Like I remember going into the 2006 WrestleMania, right?
mm,
WrestleMania 22. I think we were in Chicago. It was him and Triple H in the main event, and there are people audibly in the crowd, one cheering Triple H, which shouldn't have happened because he was a heel, but and the other people going "F you Cena, F you Cena," and it's audible. You can hear it.
mad.
So it's true. They were toxic to him as the character, like they were.
That's it. One Night Stand '06. They are literally. I mean that's another great Cena entrance, by the way. That's one you should watch. But they're literally flipping him off. There's literally a guy holding a sign saying, "If Cena wins, we riot." Now, I know that's like an ECW crowd. I get it, but still, it's mad. It's mad. It's like wow, you know?
And not just flipping him off, but there are aspects of there's a point in that match before the bell even rings where they're throwing tissue at him. Like, they're literally throwing tissue at him. There's an amazing sequence. If I know you've seen it, but if any one of our viewers haven't seen it, I recommend you should. That he throws his shirt out to the crowd, which he does normally at customary WWE events, and they throw it back for like 2-3 minutes. It's just amazing.
It's brilliant.
But this is going back to what we're talking about. This exemplifies what he said in his promos.
Mm.
And I remember you talking about it. I was like, I can't argue with him because it's exactly what happened.
I had to look in the mirror and be like, I'm an awful person. Like he's talking about me. He's talking about you. He's talking about, yeah, it's mad. It was like, okay, I like how he's flipped it on us. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, John.
Because I remember you said, if, well, just as we met, like, um, about 11 years ago, that you used to watch wrestling and you stopped because they were just you didn't use these words, but basically the gist of what you're saying was they were just shoving John Cena down their throat, down the fans' throats, like he wins all the time.
Yeah,
And he actually brings that up in his promos, like, you guys hated me because I win.
that's it.
I win because I'm great. It's the reality of his promos and what he did in his promos is just phenomenal. Now, going to the WrestleMania main event, which is where we started. So we have this thing where they have the match and we get to the finish, and everybody, bearing in mind he wasn't advertised, he wasn't promoted, everybody expected The Rock to show up. Everybody. He didn't. Somebody does show up though. Travis Scott. What were your so Travis Scott comes down and there's a sequence in that match before, I think it was before Travis Scott comes out, or maybe
Mm.
been just after, where Cody and Cena are fighting over the belt. Cody takes the belt and Cena's like this, like don't hit me kind of thing. And he's trying to he's trying to get Cody to show his empathic side. Like don't take me out. Cody stops, he hesitates, and then Cena kicks him in the nuts, and then smashes him with the belt, and then wins. And then we have a 17th champion, 17-time champion. Now, Travis Scott comes down. Are you mad? And try and pinpoint what exactly you're mad about, right? Are you mad that The Rock didn't show up, or are you mad that Travis Scott did show up?
So, I mean, I'm not saying mad The Rock didn't show up because he's not the central character in this story. It still bugs me that he's almost like, sorry to keep using the same phrase, but the elephant in the room, that he was so pivotal to this moment, and now he's just kind of been like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, he's gone now, so forget about him. That is annoying. But I don't mind that he didn't show up. But I've nothing against Travis Scott personally. I like some of his music, but this man should be nowhere near a WrestleMania main event. I remember watching it because I didn't know the results. I stayed off internet and all so I could watch it raw. And his music hit, and I was like, "What?" I was so confused. I was just like, "What? Really? Really?" Um. So yes, I am mad he showed up because he just didn't need to be there. I think they could have done the same finish, with, like the referee getting knocked out, and all of that. But no, Travis Scott did not need to be there. Like he hadn't appeared in anything, like barring the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, he's like an NPC that just didn't need to be there, to be honest. That's my thoughts. I know, what do you think?
I mean, of all the people that could have showed up, if you weren't going to have The Rock there, then just don't have Travis Scott there.
No.
That
Because
match could have.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go
No,
on.
no, go on.
No, I was gonna say that's exactly it. Because Travis Scott was there when the heel temp with The Rock, so it's like, hold on a minute, where's the other piece of the puzzle here? Because now you've kind of almost actively addressed, like, oh yeah, do you remember that iconic moment? Here's one of them, but no one cares about that guy. Let's be honest, no one cares. Again, Travis, nothing personal, mate, but no one cares about you. Where's Dwayne? Where's that bald fraud? Where is he? What's going on? He just didn't need to be there. That kind of just completely threw me. I was like, what the?
Because the thing is, I want to make this clear. I don't have an issue with the finish
Hmm.
of him kicking Cody in the balls and hitting him with a belt and then winning. I haven't got an issue with the finish.
No,
Just the element of Travis Scott.
yeah,
I haven't got an issue with the match. Match was great. People are like, oh, the match was slow, the match was boring. Well, actually, he's a heel. He's not gonna fight the same way.
yeah.
So it's not gonna be the same. Simple. So I've got no issue with the finish. It's just the Travis Scott element. Now,
Hmm.
he wins the belt and he comes out on Raw and does this thing. What were your some of your best matches post WrestleMania?
Um, First of all, I really like. So again, I know I'm being a bit critical, but one thing I did like was when he gave the announcer the paper was like, essentially like, give me a proper introduction. I like that little detail. That was a good character, like character quirk that I liked. I enjoyed the feud with Randy Orton. I'm really happy that they went down that route. Um, because obviously iconic rivalry, great pairing. I enjoyed their backlash match. I thought it was great. Um, Obviously, then he did the stuff with R-Truth, which was quite interesting. Because then that kind of led to like the more serious R-Truth character, which went absolutely nowhere. I wasn't really a fan of him teaming with Logan Paul. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, because that was like Saturday night's main event where he was like, "Oh yeah, wouldn't it be?" Because he's like, "Oh, yeah, wouldn't it be great to ruin wrestling if Logan Paul won?" And tried to kind of help him win. Um, but I don't know. I felt like Money in the Bank match could have been used for a better slot, maybe.
I I thought the match was good
Yeah.
in terms of the tag match, but I don't think the pairing of John Cena and Logan Paul worked personally.
No, I completely agree.
I just I just don't think it worked. I don't think the chemistry was right.
No, Logan Paul still. Well, he's not new, is he? But he's obviously. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It didn't feel quite right for me, like what you said.
I just and there's not no disrespect to Logan Paul. Look, as far as celebrities go, he's impressed the crap out of me.
He's really good.
Like
I got to say, he's a
like
brilliant wrestler.
yeah, like he's not this celebrity who comes in and falls down and has one or two big moves. He's a full-blown wrestler now, and all
Mm.
power to him. And just on the Logan Paul point, anyone out there that doesn't like him, well, get used to it. Simple. And guess what? He's not his job to be liked. So good for
Yeah,
you.
does a good
If
job. He's very good.
yeah, if you don't like him, then he's doing his job right. You know?
Mm.
Um, simple. So But that aside, I don't think that pairing worked.
No, it didn't really feel right. I don't know. I felt like that was they could have had a better match for that date, I think. Like maybe I don't know. I don't know who against off the top of my head, but I agree. The pairing for me wasn't really. I was kind of like, okay.
So away from the Logan Paul side, we go to Saturday night's main event. Cena has a match with R-Truth, and really good match. Pretty good match, pretty good, pretty decent. And then out of nowhere, R-Truth gets released.
Yes.
Randomly gets released. And I know this is a John Cena podcast, but we need to address this because it's part of the farewell tour. The outcry when R-Truth gets released. It's amazing.
Yeah, it blew up, didn't it? It was like we want truth. And I was like, that is pretty brutal. Having another match with the WWE champion and then let him go. I was like, wow, that is pretty savage.
And the reason why I bring that up is this character change of R-Truth when he does come back.
Mm.
Because the I thought that this bald head and all this stuff is of truth and this character change and whatnot. It's like he could be a main event guy.
Honestly, I thought this could be something because we've never seen like that, barring that short heel turn he had in like what, like 2011 or something. He's
Mhm.
always
Yeah.
been like a comedy character. So actually, this would be really interesting to see. And then, ow, like many things went absolutely nowhere. It was just forgotten about in a couple months, and I was like, oh, so we're just pretending none of that happened then, because that was really interesting.
Yeah. It's just they could have done so much with that.
Mm.
Now, going to the match with CM Punk, I think it was in Saudi Arabia, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really the feud, the match. I loved it. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Again, I'm happy that they because I had a feeling at the start of the year before we obviously knew about the heel turn and anything like that. I did think that there'd be a mix of probably some old feuds, like kind of close if you like closure matches, as well as working with new stars like some of the newer boys. And yeah, obviously the CM Punk John Cena feud, iconic, great. So I'm happy we got to run it back one more time. I knew Punk wasn't going to win, but it was a great match. I like how they kind of incorporated like Seth Rollins, who had the Money in the Bank at that point. They kind of teased that. I quite liked that, and that kind of kept the Punk Rollins rivalry story going, which I thought was quite clever actually. And it also kind of kept Cena's kind of heel heat going. So actually, I actually have no issues with that match. I thought it was a good match overall. Good story. I like the kind of the fact they incorporated Punk's views on like the relationship with Saudi Arabia into it. Like, oh, if you want this match, you can have it, but it's got to be there. And it's like you're essentially he's asking CM Punk to kind of sell out, which I thought was quite clever actually.
I tell you what I did like was when the segment of I think it was the night before they go to the night before the pay-per-view, they have this segment where Punk comes out in John Cena's '04 hype tire,
Yeah, yeah.
and he has
Oh, your audio's cut for me.
amazing because that was so well done
Hmm.
in terms of that that aspect of it. I loved it. It was great. And then we have the match. This is where he starts to turn. We go to August, and he starts to turn into a babyface again.
Hmm.
What do you think of the reveal of them doing it on SmackDown rather than at a pay-per-view?
So, okay, this is where I'm going to have some strong thoughts. So just for context, up to this point, I'd been a bit so like sorry, just to kind of lead up to the answer to that question.
Mm.
Um, so overall, like I feel like the first few promos were really good and all that, and the character, and obviously, as I said, I was kind of still asked questions like, where does The Rock come into this? What was the whole point of Travis Scott? Because I don't know if you saw on Logan Paul podcast he did with, I can't remember who it was with, but apparently Travis Scott, the whole point of him, the payoff of him being in all of this was he was meant to be, I think, on John and Logan's team at Money in the Bank, supposedly.
Yes.
But Travis Scott didn't show up for the creative or like the training meeting or something, and he pissed them off, so they cut him. So I think that was the whole point of that. But that was pointless. But up to this point, in terms of John's character work, which again, I know he's not booking it, it's not his fault. I'm not blaming him. But I kind of felt like once he almost won the title, it kind of started to feel a bit like one note. Like I wasn't like I kind of thought like okay, they did this big thing, like they're gonna kind of develop the character, have him do some like crazy stuff on TV, which I don't feel like he ever really did. It was kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna ruin wrestling, and it's like okay, we've kind of done this trick. I want to see him actually doing more of that than just saying it. And again, that's very much what's being written for him, not what's. So I was kind of like, yeah, this ain't really working. Like the matches have been okay, but it's like the story for me hasn't really elevated. So anyway, it comes to SummerSlam, and then they have that this contract signing before where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to be there. I'm sorry, mate, can't do it. And that's when Cody put him through the table, right, and forcefully made him sign the contract. Is correct? Yeah, am I
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting. I think we spoke about this. I was like, that was quite heelish from Cody, and that's what got me thinking: are we going to see maybe like a? I don't know. That was quite interesting. But then, yes, sorry, long-winded answer. We get to the next week, right? The go-home show before SummerSlam, right? One of your biggest shows of the year comes out. I'm expecting, here we go. They're going to bash each other, da 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 da. And it's just like, yeah, 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 like I was made some promises. Well, apologies, 1 second. Oh, sorry, I thought it was an important text. Apologies. Yeah, he starts cutting all this spiel and is like, oh yeah, so yeah, that big heel turn I did, yep, those guys kind of abandoned me, so yeah, sorry about all that. I don't want to actually ruin wrestling, it's sorry guys, my bad. Let's have a beer and it's all good. And I was like, no, that can't be it. Like, there's got to be another angle to this. Like, this is the biggest heel turn in the history of the company. I struggle to believe that's it. And then I started thinking maybe a double turn at SummerSlam because Cody's been doing some heelish stuff in this. I thought maybe we're getting some sort of payoff. And I thought, okay, surely SummerSlam will be an answer. And no, that was it. That was it. John's a babyface now. I mean, the SummerSlam match was great, and I'm really sorry. This is really unprofessional, but there is a delivery at my door. Do you mind if I go get it?
Go ahead. I was
Apologies.
just
I'm so sorry, viewers. It's just an Amazon delivery. I need to go get it.
we're just gonna pause the show, guys.
Sorry, guys. 1 minute.
So just to sort of go recap of what you were talking about, repeat your last thoughts on that.
Yeah, apologies to the viewers there. Just had to get the Amazon delivery in.
All
So,
good.
yeah. So yeah, I thought there was going to be this big double turn. Like that can't be it. Like again, biggest heel turn in the history of the company. I thought that was something more. And then as we find out at SummerSlam 2 days later, no, that was it. It was basically creative throwing in the towel and saying, yeah, yeah, we didn't do well here. Let's just call it a day. And I was just like, what? Like you catfished me here. Like you built this big thing up and you're just dropping it like that. 2 days before the pay-per-view. That is more. Think about this. 48 hours before. They're just like, yeah, sod it. Just scrap it, boys. And I'm gonna go into something, sorry, a little bit here. Because this is when it really dawned on me how little planning had gone into this. Because Unreal had come out by this point, right? I'm sure it had, right? So we'd
It
see
did, yeah.
planning of the heel turn. And this is where I'm going to start getting really critical. So this is the biggest heel turn in the history of the company, right? This is insane. And I remember in the Johnny Cena episode, I found this quite interesting. Like 2 hours before the show or something like that, like through or the day of the show, before not far fans are probably starting getting ready to come in, with their tickets and all that. They're probably doing security checks outside. And The Rock and Triple H are having a conversation, like, and The Rock's like, yeah, so have me and John agreed this already, or is this like, oh look, you're justifying the time now. You should have had this meeting freaking 3 months ago when you were discussing this. I'm like, what? Like, how are you only deciding this now? Like, this is the biggest. You should have had this meeting like weeks ago. And on top of that, I think now, like, if that was how the run was going to go, bear in mind it's like limited dates. Like when you change a character, especially after that long, you need to flesh it out. Imagine if they'd let him do the 200 days, how much crazy stuff they could have done. Because it always felt like, sorry to go into rant mode, but imagine the amount of crazy stuff they could have done with like 200 days. Like, I think we spoke about this. We thought, oh, he's going to beat up Michael Cole. He's going to do this. He's going to shock us all. And it always kind of felt like they were kind of almost afraid to go even more all out on it. But it's like you did this at Elimination Chamber. Like, I felt like we never saw that side of him again. It was just, yeah, the fans sucked, did they? Which worked at first. But it's like we kind of need to address where this all stemmed from. And then I watched like Unreal, and then I listened to John's comments, and it's like this was not planned out at all. Like it was like, oh yeah, let's turn John heel. Yeah, yeah. And then it's like, oh yeah, on the day of the show, yeah. So what is the story here? What is the thing? And then they were just kind of going with it. And then they were like, yeah, okay, 2 days before SummerSlam, actually, this isn't really working. Let's just turn him back babyface. And I was just banging my head against the wall, mate. Especially putting all those facts together. I was, oh, as you can tell, the writer in me was raging. Go.
Wel- Welcome to Shoot Promos with Rob Sire. We just saw your first. We just saw one. Right. There's a lot to unpack there. So I agree with you on certain points. Let's go to the first bit about the lack of planning that went into the heel turn, right? So I thought this was planned back in January when he first came in.
That's what
When
I thought.
he first came back, I thought this would have been planned months out because it would fit with the promo that he did in January in the press conference.
Mm,
Like actually, that's why he said that. It made sense. Then you watch Unreal, and I'm not knocking Unreal, by the way. I love the show. I know you do as well.
I enjoyed it.
But like to sit there and go, they didn't actually plan this. They planned a shocking moment for Elimination Chamber in Toronto. That was the shock.
Mm,
So the heel turn was great. The actual turn, as we've discussed, was phenomenal. But what do you do after that?
that's it. It felt like it was done for the shock factor, which they pulled off unquestionably.
Yeah.
Then it was like, right, we've got this. What happens next? You know? And it was like, yeah, it's just frustrating because, you know, I hate to bring up the name, but I think Vince, if he was still in charge, and I know Vince would never have dared to turn John heel in his time, but if he theoretically did, he would have thought this out somewhat. But this was very much get the shock factor in, and then we'll just take it from there. But it's like, no, you kind of have to think a bit longer than that. It's like, and again, I loved like the initial promos that he did, but then after that, it kind of went into stale mode of like, right, you know, what do we do next? What's the next step? And yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned Vince, and I'm going to mention him. Who cares? You mentioned Vince not turning John heel, and he didn't. But they almost got to that point in 2012 when The
Oh
Rock
yeah,
came back.
yeah.
They had new music, they had new everything, and they didn't pull the trigger on it. So going back to this point, I get that about the turn not being a SmackDown rather than SummerSlam. I get that. It's fine.
Mm,
My issue is if you're going to do something this big, plan it,
yeah.
do it properly. Because had they planned this, you could have made it work within 36 days.
They could have. And think of the story. Like this is never this is like the most unique angle. You've got the biggest legend, arguably in the history of the whole of your company, retiring, but no legend's ever gone out as a heel. Like you know, and then they had the concept of him potentially walking away with the belt. And I, you know, I mentioned the spinner belt earlier. That was another thing. This is that things they could have done. I think he should have brought back the spinner belt because he knows we hated it. I mean, I don't know if they could have used the old logo on TV, but I'm sure they could have modernized it somehow. I'm sure that I'm not they've got all this money, you know. They I'm sure they could have done something. You know, they could have gone so far with it, but it's like No, they just didn't. And it infuriates me more that John announced this in July 2024. So they had at least 6 months to think, right, who's he going to face? What's the story? What's the angle? And it gets to like January and it's like, yeah, we still don't know. And then again, sorry, I don't mean to rant. The day of the pay-per-view, they're sitting there going, so, have we planned, are me and John already decided on this? Are we doing this now? It's like, you should not be discussing this now. Like, this is, on the set of the Avengers, the Russo brothers don't turn up and go, yeah, so what's actually the plot of this film? What's going on? I mean, oh, sorry. As you can tell, it pisses me off thinking about it because I know how epic it could have been, and it wasn't.
And the thing is, the turn itself, I know we keep going back to this, the turn itself was epic.
Oh, it was amazing. It's still, despite what came after, the turn, I rewatch it probably like at least twice a week because it's just so good. It's so good.
Oh, but this is my point, right? That's that's what you do with that amount of limited planning.
Yeah,
What happens if you plan the whole year around him being a heel?
that's it. There's the stories they could have told, like, you know, as a heel, like the names he could have worked with, like obviously it's the kind of the archive guys, if you like Orton and Punk. But then there's so much like good young talent on the roster. Obviously,
Hmm.
Cody. I mean, Cody's not young; he's like 40, but he's like the face of the company right now. You've got a babyface Roman Reigns. That could have been a really interesting dynamic if they'd chosen to do that, and I'm sure Roman would have been down.
Mm.
You've got like I'm trying to think off the top of my head. You've got like Damian Priest. He's a good talent, I think, and he's face now as well. There's probably names I'm just not even thinking of because there's just so many people. You know,
LA Knight.
LA Knight, one of the most over guys who Triple H for some reason just doesn't want to get over the hill. I don't know what's going on there, but I think he's great. You've got so mine's kind of deserted me because there's just so many names. But yeah, you get the idea. Like
Yeah.
if they, like you said, if they just planned it out over a year, they could have put some names and they could have really thought about this. And like they could have taken it so far, even if it is just the 36 states. But I just think if they had just gone, actually, John, yeah, let's go with the 200 because we're going to do this. The storytelling they could have done could have just been this could have been the greatest retirement revenge tour ever. And
Because because I think as well, like the 36 dates thing, I know it bothers you. It doesn't bother me because had they had they done this properly, had they planned this out properly, they could have made
mm,
it work within 36 dates. And that's the infuriating thing.
they could have they could have made it work if they just planned it. Like you said, they just planned it better because it's limited time. So it's like you think and the thing with crucial is the wording dates. It's not matches, dates. That just means he's showing up. You know, so it's like these days, each of these dates are valuable. It's like I'm trying to do the maths. 12 times 36 by 12. That's like what? That's like my maths is not that great, but that's not many dates per month if you do it on an average, right? So it's like, yeah, each appearance is valuable. So it's like if you're gonna do this big story, these appearances need to matter.
And he probably should. I'm just thinking about it off the top of my head. I'm going to get this wrong, but
Sorry.
he probably showed up probably like three times a month, if that.
Yeah, you're about right. Yeah, it'd be like a one of the pay-per-views because to be fair to him, he did wrestle on like every PLE, didn't he?
Yeah,
Which mad respect to his age. Like that is insane. And he
yeah.
put in some great, probably some of the best matches of his career actually in some of those
And
matches.
he even said that. Like he said that like the matches that he had on this farewell tour were the best matches he had in his career, probably because he knows he hasn't got long left.
No, that's it. Like that Cody Cena too was like I think that's what people would have wanted to see at SummerSlam. And that's another thing that annoyed me about them just dropping the heel turn on SummerSlam. Bear in mind, like for the past 6 months, he's been basically trashing Cody and all that. Beat him to near death at Elimination Chamber. This was brutal. Choking him out with his own tie, holding him down so the Rock can beat his ass with a belt, and all of a sudden they're sharing a beer and shaking hands, and it's like, wait, have we just forgotten like what happened like just 6 months ago? That's another thing that annoyed me. It was like it's like Randy Orton RKOing Stephanie in front of Triple H one week, kissing her while she's down, and the next week they're like, actually, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, all good, mate. You'll see you at Wrestle. It's like what? It's like, no, this was personal. Like, yeah, I don't.
See,
I just think it kind of ruined a lot of what we had seen doing it that way. Like, I think they obviously didn't necessarily want to turn Cody heel, but I think if they wanted to turn John face, which I think was probably always the plan anyway, like a redemption arc, they should have done it better than that. Like, that was just them throwing in the towel.
if that was me, I would have turned him face at SummerSlam in at the end of the match. Have
Like a
him
like kind of what they did with. I don't know if am I allowed to say his name? Brock
go
Lesnar.
ahead.
Am I allowed to say that on here?
Well, he's back now, so it doesn't matter.
That's it. But like what they did with that kind of like he was a heel with Cody, and then they kind of embraced, and it was like earned his respect. Something
Yeah,
like that would have been way better than what they did.
because the thing is, at the end of the match, they did that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh,
So really, he could have done everything in the match that he did as a heel. Could- They could have had the same exact match as a heel
hmm.
and Cody being a face. And at the end of that match, they could have done the same finish. They could have had him embrace Cody like he already did, and
Hmm.
then bang, John Cena's a face.
It would have been so much more impactful, and it would have made creative look less bad because then you have this epic match, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved the match. It was one of the probably one of the my favorite match of the year. I think it was amazing.
It's up there, yeah.
Yeah, and it would have kind of teased it throughout the match, and then at the end, yeah, they could have even done a throwback to the heel turn of like a, yeah, yeah, but this time he's like, yeah, yeah, respect, respect. They could have, okay, fair. Nope, nope, it was just white towel. Yeah, we messed up. Sorry. See you at SummerSlam.
Okay, so going away from SummerSlam now,
Yeah.
he's now a face.
Mm,
What on the back end, and we'll get
yeah.
to Gunther in a minute. On the back end, what were some of your favorite matches? Him as a face now,
Wait, sorry, are you talking about post SummerSlam?
post SummerSlam now, yeah.
I loved the match with AJ Styles, and I'm really happy they ran that back one more time. Um,
Phenomenal match.
Yeah, that was another great match. I love the tributes to all the wrestlers, other wrestlers that maybe he didn't get to work with. I really enjoyed his program with Dominic Mysterio. I loved I don't know if I mentioned that before. I really enjoyed. I think Dominic's great. I love him, and I love the fact that they gave John the IC title, which is like the one championship that's evaded him. Um, but at the same time, I kind of in a way I liked that it was quite a brief run because he didn't need a long run. Like
Mm.
the title didn't really need legitimizing because Dominic, I think, is doing a great job. Um, so I think I really liked that. I think their two matches were really good. They were probably the best two. The match with Brock at WrestlePalooza was an absolute, in my opinion, a waste of a date because look, with Brock, like what I don't understand why in 2025 he needs to squash John Cena. What like in 2014, it made sense. He'd broken the streak, like it made sense. John was in his prime, but these are two 40-something-year-old men. Like we already know Brock's a badass. John's like that. Think of how many other superstars could have benefited from that match, having a match with John Cena at that point. Like again, I'm thinking like LA Knight. I'm thinking maybe like Drew. Oh no, Drew was in a program with Cody, but you get the idea. There are several other wrestlers. They could have thrown it back with someone that maybe, I don't know, but and it was just such a point. And then what's worse about it is that it was never mentioned again. He just moved on. Everyone just moved on. Brock started going with the vision and like, that kind of storyline, and John moved on to his thing. So it was like there was no point.
And really, there was no build up to that match.
No, they didn't even have a face to face until WrestlePalooza.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, the return at SummerSlam was like that was another moment that threw me off because I thought he was done. I thought Brock, after what happened, I thought Brock was done. So I was literally like Michael Cole when he came out. But yeah, that was a pointless program. That was like, why?
And Matt Cole was like, "Holy shit!" Oh my gosh, I just because going back to 2014, right? There was that, and people criticized it then. Cena being destroyed by Brock, the
Mm,
16 suplexes, but there was value in that because Brock had just broken the streak. Paul Heyman, who was his mouthpiece at the time, we spent the whole summer talking about how Brock broke the streak.
Yeah, that was his big shtick at that
Yeah.
moment.
So there was value in that. There was value in him destroying John and beating the crap out of him. I get it. What's the value in this?
No, that's it. I mean, let's be realistic. Is Brock going to win another championship? I personally don't think so. I think he's going to be brought back to come back, destroy someone, come back to the need him again. That's his role, and he's okay with that. We're okay with that. Like, I think back to those years when he was the Universal Champion. I'm just like I love the guy, but he doesn't need to be champion for like 8 months of the year. Like, it just devalues the title. It just kind of makes everything else pointless. But it was such a waste of a day. And like you said, there was just no build up. It was, I think they did one like, I think like a segment where they kind of did like sound bites, and that was it. But there was just, yeah, it was just a waste of a day. It really was.
And there was one match where when Cena was facing Sami Zayn and Brock Lesnar came out and just F5 both of them.
Oh yeah.
That was it. I'm just like, could it
And also, sorry, go on.
could have been used better. Go on.
No, I was gonna say I also forgot to mention Cena and Logan Paul, which actually was a very good match. Um, was I a fan of the whole story with Logan Paul? I mean, they were definitely better as rivals than teammates, as we've discussed. But this kind of ties into Brock Lesnar because you had SummerSlam, epic comeback, F5s him. Holy crap, what's going to happen? Brock doesn't appear for almost 6 weeks, and it's like, oh, actually, he's going to face Logan Paul. And it kind of also ties into Cody because then that same not SummerSlam, SmackDown, where they had the tag team match where him and Cody versus I think it was Logan Paul and I can't remember who the other guy was. My mind's gone blank. But anyway, and he's like, "Yeah, the champ is here," like putting Cody over, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's the same guy you basically tried to kill 6 months ago." Are we still seriously just forgetting about this? This wasn't like a verbal. He brutalized the man, and now they're like best mates. I'm just sorry, it's bothering me. It's like, oh, we're just forgetting this ever happened.
Oh dear. It's funny because the beatdown was so brutal, like with Cody in such a brilliant way. It's like, well, now you guys are best friends. Like, what?
Shaking hands, like, yeah, man, you're the guy, the champ is here, and I'm just like, yeah, like, I'm just gonna show you this picture from 5 months ago where he's bleeding and stuff. Like, what are we just? No, we're just forgetting about this. Okay, and on top of that, oh, we're just forgetting that Brock Lesnar came back out of nowhere. F5, we're just not discussing this, and it's like, oh no,
And
actually, he's gonna have a match with Logan Paul, who's, I mean, okay, it makes Logan look good, but then it's like. But then again, it's the elephant in the room again. And we've still not really, at this point, addressed what's the story with The Rock? What was the point in all of that? Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Again, lack of planning.
That's it. That's it. It's like, oh yeah, we brought Brock back, but yeah, now you're going to face Logan Paul. Now you're going to face Brock, but you're going to get just buried in that match, basically. And at that point, that's when you could really see, yeah, this was not planned. No one had meetings and discussed this.
And look, I've got no problem with Brock winning. I don't, right? But make it a competitive match.
Yeah, that's it. He doesn't
Make
need to squash John Cena at this point. Like it doesn't add value. No one wins from this, really. You know.
Yeah, because again, I go back to the SummerSlam point in 2014. There was value in that
Mm,
because we're now going to take Brock after that match was a world champion, and we're now going to build him to WrestleMania, and he's off the backside of that. Roman Reigns is going to win the Royal Rumble 2015, and they're going to main event WrestleMania together. That's the value.
that's it.
That's why we're doing this. So the payoff comes later. But
Yeah.
this on this side, Rebel WrestlePalooza, I'm like,
Like, what was the
God,
point? And it's like,
yeah,
and what's kind of crazy is I don't know if you heard, but apparently Brock might be retiring this year.
yeah, 2026, yeah.
So it's not even like at least and I know AJ Styles think is calling it a day, but I can see the fan service. Two great wrestlers put on one last great match for the fans. I have no problem with that. I don't care that there was no story. You know, in that instance, it works because you've got two legends who I could watch them wrestle for 6 hours and it would be epic. But Brock coming in burying Cena for it to go then nowhere for either of them really. And like you said, where's the value at the end of this? Because John's going at the end of the year. Brock's probably going to be retired, if not next year, at some point soon. Why?
So I agree. I think the Brock Cena match. I think that was kind of a waste of a date. I hate to say that.
It
I think it
was. It
was.
really was.
Um, Going forward, you brought up AJ Styles. Let's you kind of touched on it in terms of you thought that was one of the greatest matches of the year.
Mm,
Let's let's talk about um the actual match. So set the stage. There was no story between the two of them in that
no.
way. I don't think there needed to be. I think their history kind of said it all. Um, so Cena comes out, AJ comes out, Cena hands a bit of paper to the ring announcer, and he puts over AJ Styles like $1 million.
Mm,
Now, what's funny about this? Nobody knew that was going to happen. Creative didn't know. AJ Styles didn't know. You know, your thoughts on that match?
the match itself was absolutely phenomenal. Like AJ can honestly work with anyone. Like he is. Like I remember I watched a bit of him obviously in TNA when I was younger, and then obviously then he came to WWE, and it's just like I don't think I've ever watched him have a bad match. Like he's
Mhm.
just like his character work is great. He's just phenomenal. And obviously him and John's original feud all them years ago was just so good. And oh, the match itself, I love the tribute to like Bray and like Randy Orton and like all the different other like there was a tombstone in there as well. It was phenomenal. Like it was like it was fan service and it was obviously fan service, but in the context of the retirement tour and everything, I think no one minded that it didn't have the build up because it didn't need it. Because like I said, AJ, I think he's retiring. I think this year. I think he said right. So it's like one last match. It doesn't need a story, any shocks. Just a masterclass for the fans, and that's what we got. And you know, I think there could some of them like wasted dates that we spoke about could have been used for similar matches. Like obviously he kind of had his one last match with Randy Orton, but yeah, that's my thoughts there.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. So let's go to now the end. So we're going to get to the My Time Is Now tournament.
yeah,
Gunther wins that,
hmm
and we have that match, Saturday Night Main Event, and that is his last match. We know it going in. Obviously, this is the end now. Before we get to the match, talk about what that meant for you, because obviously we were big fans, right?
yeah. It's the moment it started to become real. It was like I'm sorry to get morbid here. I might get a bit emotional. It was
No,
a bit like watching a family member on ICU, believing they're gonna make it, and then the doctor coming to me and being, he's got one more day and that's it, and then becoming real, like, oh damn, that's it. That's how it felt. I was like, damn, like, I'm gonna wake up on Sunday and be like, that's it. That's it. The last time is now. And then, yeah, it kind of look back on the year and go, I just feel more disappointed about some of the missed opportunities that we'd spoken about. Um, yeah, it just made me think, like, man, like I've grown up with this guy. Like, I was watching him when I was like 14, and like in his youth, and I'd kind of, he'd kind of been there my whole life, I guess. And it's like, yeah, and especially like some of my goats have retired, like Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, HBK, Edge, even though he came back, but you get, Stone Cold, The Rock. It's like, John and Randy are kind of like, I know Edge is obviously still going, but if we're talking like WWE specifically, John and Randy, who I love, by the way, I absolutely adore Randy Orton. When he retires, I'll be bawling. Um, but yeah, it's like, damn, like one of my goats is going. So I wasn't ready for it. I was not ready for, that final bell to go. Um, yeah, no, it was a bit surreal actually, is the best word I could use to describe how I felt going into Saturday night's main event.
And I'll tell you also as well, like I got I got choked up on the pre-show
Mm,
because they did this video package from narrated by Michael Cole about Michael Cole's career. And for those of you that don't know, Michael Cole and John Cena are very good friends in real life.
mm,
And he does this video package about how important he's been to his career and how his influence has been on Michael Cole. That got me choked up. I'm like I didn't expect that. So now we go to the entrance and the last salute, the last run down to the ring, and the place goes insane.
mm,
The reaction, the crowd, everything about it was just, it was exactly the way if we exclude everything else, it was exactly the way I think John wanted to go out.
mm,
And we have, Kevin Owens there, Kurt Angle is there, Mark Henry's there, um, Rob Van Dam is there, among others. How else better could you go out?
no. I'll
You
tell you, and I
know?
think we're going to talk about the match, but I'll tell you what got me a bit emotion. You know, the after he got out the ring and he's walking, like the camera angle of him like from the entrance and him walking out, high five fans. I was like, damn, like that got me. Even thinking now, I'm like, shit, like this is it. I was like, that got me. I was like, like that was tough. It was like, no, it's like, please, just one more match, John, one more, please. But yeah, that was a great moment. That got me. That was like, wow, that was beautiful.
Which bit are you talking about? The one where he runs down the ramp?
Sorry, I'm talking about at the end. So after so after the match, which I know we're going to
Oh,
discuss. After he's Punk and Rhodes put him over, like he puts his shoes and his things in the ring, gets out, and he starts walking down the ramp, and then it pans to, if you imagine I'm where the end, imagine like where the laptop is where John is standing, and it's like filming downwards, and you can see him like high fiving the fans, and
yeah,
that shot of like all the fans around him. That was like that really. Even now, I'm like getting a bit upset thinking about it because that gets me. That was that was beautifully done. It's like him like walking away gracefully from what made him basically. It's like wow,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
beautiful. That was probably my favorite moment of the thing. Like that really got me.
So let's go to the match.
Yes.
Before we get to the match, what do you think of Gunther being his final opponent?
So I love Gunther. I think he's great. Um, it's tough because when I was talking about his last opponent, I'm like, should it be a guy who kind of, do we want him to face kind of some, like a throw it back, kind of like what he did with AJ Styles, or should it be someone, that kind of is going to be there for the next 10 plus years? I think the latter makes more sense for the last match because it's like, that would be the guy that faced John Cena's last match, and it's like a wrestling tradition to put over your guy, your opponent in the last match. So I think it made sense for it to be like someone younger. But I like Gunther. I love the guy. I think he's great. My when he won, I was kind of like, okay, that's quite interesting because it's like this guy is a two-time world champion. We know he's a badass. Does he need the kind of the hype, if you like, of being the guy that faced John Cena his last match? Because I kind of had a feeling John was going to lose, which I had no problem with. But I was like, okay, I'm interested to see the kind of how they do this. The only other person that would have benefited would have been maybe LA Knight because he hasn't maybe had that big jump yet to world title guy. But then it's kind of tough because he is a babyface. So it's like, would the fans kind of hate him if he was to say beat John Cena? So like in a way, I think it does make sense from it being Gunther, but then I'm like, he's already been the guy. The other guy I'm looking at, who was never, I don't even think he was in the tournament, and I'm a big fan of him, Braun Breaker, because this is a guy who hasn't really got to the top of the mountain yet. It's obvious that the company want him to be that guy. That they had him join the Vision and then turn on Seth Rollins, which I know wasn't the original plan, but that was only because of the injury. But it's like, I don't know. I think those two could put on a great match. It would have done a lot for Braun as a character, as a future world champion. So whilst I have no issue with Gunther per se, I think there's others who maybe at their point in their careers now could have benefited from being in that position.
So this is where I disagree, right? So, and the reason why I disagree is, okay, Gunther he's already a made man, right? He's already a made guy, and I agree with the fact. Look, he's been world champion, he's done all that stuff, he's been in the main events. This, the type of heat he gets from retiring John Cena, that level of heat, in my opinion, is bigger for him in his career than any championship. And I compare you to this comparison, right? When Brock Lesnar ended the streak at WrestleMania 30, people were like, why did Brock need that? Why did Brock do that? Why did that happen? The level of heat that he got from ending the streak, which he carried for years on end, you can't buy that heat. Again, I draw the same comparison to John. Here's this beloved character that people have loved, most people have loved for 20 years, right? He's leaving. We know he's leaving. Win, lose, or draw, this is his last match. We're already pissed off about that enough and upset about that enough. Who's going to get that heat? It's going to be Gunther because he's the one that retired him. He's the one that made him tap out. And people don't like the finish of him tapping out. I do because Cena's finally like, it's poetic. It's like he's leaving. What's the biggest way I could leave? By making somebody else a star. And for that one person to make me tap out so that in the next Raws, SmackDowns, whatever, Gunther can go, I'm the only guy in 20 years that made John Cena tap out. I made
Mm.
him tap out. Me. And going back to John Cena's original heel turn, people were pissed off because what he's saying is true.
Yeah, I like the comparison there. Yeah, yeah,
So you're pissed off, but you're pissed off because Gunther's made you that way. And
yeah.
that's the point.
I can see your point. I can see your point, and I can definitely see the poetic side of it. Um, I don't know. It just felt a bit off for me. It's like this is the same guy who's he's been telling us for years. He doesn't never give up, never give up, and he gave up. And it's like, oh, I mean, it again, shocking moment. Didn't see it coming. Um, I just, I don't know. I just hope that in the long term they do something with this. Like this guy needs to arguably win the Royal Rumble. He needs to win the title. He needs to be like a monster level heel for the next God knows how many years, a year or two at least. Because if they kind of just do nothing with it and he just kind of sits in the middle, then I'll be more pissed off because it's like, this is a shocking moment, which a lot of people don't agree with and aren't a fan of. And like I said, I think other people may have benefited from the position at this point in their careers. Because I agree that the heat he's been getting has been phenomenal. And like the stuff with the t-shirts and all that, I think has been great. But it's just like, yeah, they definitely need to do something with it now. And just seeing kind of some of the creative decisions they made in the last year or so, I'm a bit concerned.
That I agree with. I agree with that 100% because if we're going to turn around and say this is what they need to do in terms of Cena, and okay, we've done this now. Now let's capitalize on the back of it.
Mm.
I get that. And I agree with that. So that's anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I think if from this in a few months' time, Gunther, is let's say I don't know world champion, the monster level in the heel, like, and he become that in the company, sorry, and he becomes that guy that people need to stop. Kind of like what Brock was when he was like Universal champion. Like we just all wanted like just get the damn title off him. But the hope, but you're clutching on strings because it's like this guy's a beast. If if like in say 6 months' time he's in that position, I'll put my hand up and say, okay, the decision to have John tap out was arguably a good one. But if in 6 months he's just kind of middle of the pack, then it makes it even worse for me. My other kind of thought is going back to the heel run and the overall retirement tour is I wish there had been more braver decisions made and in terms of like, the heel run itself, because I think there was such a unique angle there of him going out potentially as a heel. Whether I feel like should he have retired as a heel? I don't think so. I think there probably should have been some sort of redemption arc, like we said, but just not in the way they did it. But like if it was me booking it and someone said to me, we're going to turn John heel, how would you book this? I won't give a run, show by show run. I could be here forever, but I definitely would have had him I would have taken him up on the offer of 200 dates if I'd thought about it in time. I could use that to build the character and then make that redemption arc more meaningful and more like epic per se. Um, I just think it was overall very disappointing in a year where I think there was a lot of not just with the retirement tour of John, but other kind of angles, which I'm sure we could do another podcast about, to
Hmm.
be honest. But overall, yeah, I'm intrigued to see where they go with Gunther, and I just hope that pulverizing decision doesn't go to waste because I'm still quite iffy about it, to be honest. But I had no issue with Gunther winning, but winning in that way was like, oh, it doesn't feel right to me. We'll see. I might be proven wrong.
Well, I'll tell you this. Gunther better be featured prominently in WrestleMania and the
Oh,
lead up to WrestleMania.
if they turn around and be like, yeah, he's facing, I don't know, Carmelo Hayes in a one v one for nothing, then yeah, then I'm gonna be pissed off. Then I will be like, right, no, no, Hunter out, bring back Vince. But we'll see. We'll see.
Mm. We'll
Hopefully,
see.
hopefully there's a payoff to all of this in the long run. That's how I like to think.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Rob, for coming around and doing this again. We
Pleasure.
did one before, it was great. I want to do more with you down the road, specifically
Absolutely.
during WrestleMania week, or around that time. And yeah, no, whatever happens now, we'll wait and see. But
That's it.
all I'll say is remain optimistic.
That's it. That's it. I'm intrigued to see what happens the next few months. It's a new year, a good, well, a decent. I wasn't a big fan of Monday Night Raw, Stranger Things crossover. I didn't. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I feel it was a bit overhyped with all the bit of marketing and stuff. But again, that's a conversation for another day. SmackDown, though, as we said at the very start, strong beginning. So I'm intrigued to see where they go this year. But yeah, yeah, like you said, there could, there's a whole year ahead. We don't know what's going to happen yet. So
All right. Have a nice day, everybody.
have a nice day, guys.
Bye.